Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. I, 28 male, have been with my fiance, 27 female, for almost 4 years. We got engaged this past spring, and up until recently, I thought our relationship was one of those rare, solid ones built to last. I've always been proud of how we've handled challenges together, how we talk through our differences, and how much love I thought we shared. But a few weeks ago, during what should have been a joyful season of wedding planning, she blindsided me with something I can't stop thinking about. Something that's making me question not only our wedding, but whether I can even marry her at all. When we first started dating, she was very open about the fact that she had been in love before me. Not just any relationship either. She was engaged once before. She met her high school sweetheart, let's call him David, when she was 15. They dated all through high school, all through college, and by the time she was 21, he had proposed. She told me she said yes without hesitation. She thought her life was set. But then, 2 months after the proposal, David was killed in a car accident. She described it as the day her entire world shattered. She went from planning a wedding to planning a funeral, from dreaming of a shared life to staring at an urn on her parents' mantle. I remember the first time she told me about him. We were only a couple of weeks into dating. She said, "I just want you to know I've been engaged before, but he passed away. It's part of me." I remember reaching across the table, holding her hand, and telling her I respected that she had loved deeply, and I wasn't threatened by it. And for a long time, I wasn't. Yes, she still visited his grave on anniversaries. Yes, she kept photos of him in a box in her closet. Yes, she sometimes posted a tribute on social media on his birthday. But she wasn't living in the past. She was building a life with me. Or so I thought. Over our 4 years, we've built a lot. We've traveled, adopted a dog, merged friend groups, and even survived a rocky patch during the pandemic when we both lost work temporarily. When I proposed last spring, she cried tears of joy. She said yes immediately. She told me she was ready for our forever. I never once thought David was standing between us. I thought he was part of her history, not her present. That illusion shattered during one of our wedding planning sessions. We were sitting at the kitchen table with notebooks, Pinterest boards, and vendor quotes scattered everywhere. We were talking about ceremony decor when she casually said, "So, where should we put his urn?" I blinked. "What do you mean?" She looked at me like it was obvious. "David's urn. I want him included in the wedding." I thought she meant maybe at home afterward, like where we'd display it in our house. So I clarified, and her answer made my stomach drop. She said she wanted his urn displayed near the altar. She wanted it photographed alongside us. She wanted to hold it in pictures the way she'd hold her bouquet. And she even floated the idea of placing a chair for him in the front row, so he can still be part of the day. I felt like someone had pulled the rug out from under me. I told her I wasn't okay with that. I said I understood she would always carry him in her heart. I said I would never ask her to forget him. But I couldn't stomach the idea of our wedding being turned into a shrine for her dead fiancé. I said, "This day's supposed to be about us, about our future, not about your past." I told her imagining myself kissing her at the altar while his urn sat beside us made me feel sick. That wedding photos of me, her, and an urn weren't something I could ever look at with joy. That's when she snapped. "You're just jealous of a pile of ashes," she shouted. "He's not here anymore. What do you think is going to happen? I'll run off with him?" Her words cut me deeper than I expected. It wasn't jealousy. It was about boundaries, about dignity, about not wanting to feel like a placeholder groom standing in the shadow of the man she really wanted, but couldn't have. I tried to explain. I told her this wasn't about jealousy of a ghost. It was about the fact that she wanted to merge the most sacred moment of our lives with a past relationship. That I couldn't stand up there and vow forever while sharing the spotlight with someone else's ashes. She accused me of trying to erase him. She said if I loved her, I'd love all of her, including the part that still belonged to David. Then she stormed out, leaving me staring at the wedding binder like it had turned into a coffin. That night, I lay awake replaying every moment of our relationship. Had I missed signs? Little things that now looked bigger in hindsight? Like how she never took down a photo of him in her parents' hallway. How she still wore a locket with his initials tucked inside. How on one of our anniversaries she cried. Not because she wasn't happy with me, but because it felt strange celebrating love again. I had always brushed those off as grief scars. Normal, human, understandable. But now I wasn't so sure. Was I ever her first choice? Or was I always the consolation prize? I confided in my sister. She didn't mince words. She's not ready to marry you. If she still needs him at the wedding in a literal urn, she hasn't moved forward. She's trying to have 2 weddings at once. My best friend said something similar. Man, you're setting yourself up for a life where every milestone will be a threesome. You, her, and his ghost. Birthdays, anniversaries, even having kids. It'll all circle back to him. If you're uncomfortable now, it'll only get worse. Hearing that from people I trust made me feel less insane. After sitting with my thoughts for a few days, I told her we needed to postpone the wedding. I said, I can't go through with this until we're on the same page. Right now, it feels like we're not planning our wedding, but a wedding for 3. She accused me of being crazy and heartless. She cried that I didn't really love her, because if I did, I'd let her honor David however she wanted. I told her I do love her, but love isn't supposed to mean erasing myself so she can drag the past into every corner of our future. She hasn't forgiven me. We barely talk. The wedding planning binder is gathering dust. I don't know if we're even engaged anymore, or if we're just 2 people clinging to something that's already broken. If I give in now, what happens later? Will his urn sit in our living room next to our wedding photo? Will she light a candle for him on our anniversary every year? Will our future kids grow up knowing mommy's first fiance was supposed to be their dad? I'm not heartless. I know grief doesn't vanish. But at some point, shouldn't your partner become your present and your future? Not always live in the shadow of your past? So, Reddit, am I the a-hole for refusing to let my fiance's late fiance's urn have a reserved spot at our wedding? Not the a-hole. She's not just asking to honor someone from her past. She's trying to merge her old wedding with hers. That urn at the altar, the chair in the front row, the bouquet photos, those aren't small gestures of remembrance. Those are symbolic acts that say, this day belongs to him too. OP is not jealous of ashes. He is rightfully protecting his boundaries. A marriage is supposed to be about 2 people creating a future together, not about inviting a ghost to stand beside you in every photo. She may not realize it, but she hasn't let go enough to truly be a wife to OP. If she can't see how hurtful this is, I don't think postponing is enough. I think OP needs to seriously reconsider if she's ready to be in this marriage at all. And now let's hear community's opinion. Honestly, this broke my heart for you. You've spent 4 years respecting her grief, comforting her on anniversaries, and never demanding she erase her past. You have already been compassionate. And how does she repay that? By telling you you're jealous of a pile of ashes. That's not just unfair, it's cruel. You're not jealous, you're human. You're allowed to want your wedding day, to be about you and your future wife, not her and the man she lost. If she can't give you that, if she can't prioritize you for just one single day, then how can she promise to prioritize you for the rest of your lives? Not the a-hole at all. I don't think your fiance understands what she's asking. A wedding isn't a scrapbook. It's not a memorial service. It's a commitment ceremony between 2 living people. Her late fiancé is part of her history, and no one's asking her to pretend otherwise. But demanding that his ashes sit front row while you vow to be her husband is like telling you, you'll always be second place. That's not jealousy, that's reality. You're right to pause the wedding. If she can't separate her grief from your future, then you're not building a marriage. You're building a shrine. And you deserve more than to be a guest at your own wedding. Not the a-hole. Boundaries aren't jealousy. Boundaries are respect for yourself and the life you want to build. You've accepted her grief for years, and you've never asked her to erase him. But there is a huge difference between her carrying him in her heart privately and her dragging his urn down the aisle on what's supposed to be your day. That's not honoring. That's overshadowing. Her outburst, calling you jealous of ashes, tells me she's still in denial about how much she's holding on. And honestly, I don't think she's ready for marriage. Not to you, not to anyone. Until she can let the past rest in peace, you'll never truly be her husband, just the man standing in the empty space her fiancé left behind. Let me preface this by saying that I genuinely don't believe I'm in the wrong. But my brother Ben, the other party, is incredibly rational and is typically my sounding board for everything, hence why I'm seeking outside judgment. Our grandfather passed away recently, and from his estate he gave our mother a portion. He gave Ben, my sister, and I a portion, and he gave my sister's son Henry a portion. In a trust that is to be accessed when he's 18, he's currently 3. Ben is in a relationship with Casey, who has a 6-year-old son, Josh, from a prior relationship. Ben and Casey have been together for 3 years and are talking about getting engaged. We're all very happy for them. However, Ben believes that Josh should be entitled some money in a trust from my grandfather's estate, in the same way Henry received. His argument is that Josh and Henry have been in our family for the same amount of time, and Josh shouldn't be penalized for not being his biological child. He brought this up at a family meal on Sunday. A mix of other family members were also there. I told Ben that I disagree with him, that Henry and Josh are entitled to different things, at least until Ben were to adopt Josh someday, or he and Casey marry. That my grandfather may have known both children for the same amount of time, but you couldn't expect him to base his will on that. And that this is all moot because my grandfather's estate was his to split, and what's done is done. Ben said I'm insensitive to the position he's in, looking after another man's child and becoming a father in a more challenging way. Again, I said none of that really matters in this because it's not about morality, but financial practicality. Ben accused me of suggesting his family is worth less than our sister's. I told him that of course that isn't true, but it was inappropriate to bring this up at a family meal, and that our sister would at least know better than to disrespect my grandfather's memory by discussing his estate at the table. Ben finished his meal in silence, but when he left, he said I'd been rude, I'd made him uncomfortable, and I should have his back when it comes to these sorts of issues. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Grandpa made his decision to leave money to immediate family, therefore no reason to argue about it. If it's such an issue, he could give some of the money he gets to Josh. Not the a-hole. Your brother Ben should know the reason his girlfriend's stepson was excluded from the will. It's the same reason that he hasn't married this lady, despite having been with her for 3 years. If he hasn't even brought himself to make a lifetime commitment to this woman after spending 3 years with her, how can he expect his grandfather to bequeath his assets on her child when he barely even knows them? By that same token, how can he accuse you of devaluing his family when he's the one who stalled on actually making them his family for so long? Not the a-hole. Josh is not your brother's stepson. He's your brother's girlfriend's son. When and if they get married makes them his stepson. They aren't even engaged. Thinking your grandfather should have left a trust fund for a child that isn't a member of the family is absurd. If your brother feels that strongly, he should take part of his inheritance and set up a trust fund for the child. I noticed in your brother's opinion, it's only unfair if it's not coming out of his pocket. Backstory. I, 39 male, was a teen dad at 16 to my daughter Gabby, 23 female. Her mom and I's family convinced us to get married for the sake of her. We got married and had another child, 20 male. I divorced my children's mom when she cheated on me and got pregnant. Gabby herself became a teen mom at 17 and had my granddaughter, Emily, 6 female. Gabby's mom threw her out. I immediately took her in. The dad's family wasn't much help, so I took care of nearly everything. My wife, 34 female, Lauren, even watched Emily while Gabby finished school. When Gabby hit college, she had first started leaving Emily with us 3 days a week for 3 hours. Lauren and I didn't mind at first because we took into consideration that it was her first year of college. It then slowly escalated to 5 days a week for 8 hours. I immediately shut it down because my wife was pregnant at the time. Gabby apologized and didn't bring Emily around for a while. When my son was born, Gabby started this crap again. After 2 weeks, I told Gabby this has to stop. She stopped and sent her mom after us. Recently, Gabby met a new guy. She slowly started doing this again. When I confronted her, she said her new boyfriend doesn't like kids. When I asked her why in the world is she with a child-free man, she stated she just fell in love. I told her it's very unrealistic, but Gabby believes he'll eventually love and accept Emily as his own. Now on to the problem. My wife and I had a daughter during the you-know-what. Her parents haven't been able to see the baby yet. They're from South Korea. We decided this summer to go and visit her family. When Gabby was over yesterday, she asked if I can take Emily for 2 weeks mid-June. I reminded Gabby that I leave June 1st and won't be home for a month. She then tells me that's fine. When I ask her what she meant, she then tells me that she'll happily pay to send Emily to South Korea with us for the summer. I immediately said no. I told Gabby we plan to spend this time with Lauren's family. She then drops on me, "You don't get a vacation from being grandpa." Not my best moment, but I shot back with, "And you don't get a vacation from being mom." She got pissed off and started ranting on how I'm a bad grandpa and that I should be happy to take Emily. When I asked her where she's going that's so important, Disney World, she said her boyfriend's family wants to make this a family-only vacation and that Emily isn't allowed because she isn't blood. She then took Emily and stormed off. She sent her mom after me again, and when I said, "She's your granddaughter too, you can take her for those 2 weeks," she replied with, "But Emily is closer to you." My son said he doesn't agree with his mom and sister, but said that Emily came to his apartment today crying. She was crying that I didn't love her and only care about my kids. It broke my heart and I feel bad. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Your daughter is childish and manipulative as hell. I'm sure you did your best, but she ended up that way anyway. I understand why you let her have an inch to begin with, but you have been reminded why the saying about inches and miles exists. Gabby then drops on me, "You don't get a vacation from being grandpa." Isn't being able to pop in and out of the grandkids' lives one of the major perks of being a grandparent? Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole, but Gabby is, since she's clearly telling Emily that you don't love her. Gabby needs to get her priorities straight. Heading off to Disney World without her daughter is such an a-hole move. I have a 9-year-old son with my ex. She cheated on me a lot while we were together. We actually broke up for a short time before getting back together when I found out she believed I might not be our son's biological father. It hurt me that she kept it from me. Even after we found out via DNA that I was his bio father, it still hurt. But she apologized a lot, and I wanted to try and be a family for our son's sake. Then I found out when she was expecting her second child that she had cheated on me, repeatedly. Cheated so much that she actually gave me an STD. I broke up with her for good that time, and when her daughter was born, I paid for a DNA test which confirmed I was not the father. It was easier because we were not married, so I was not put on the birth certificate or anything. 6 months later, I learned the bio father did not want to be part of his daughter's life. This is when the request started. Ex asked me to raise her daughter as my own. I said no. She then led her daughter to believe I could be her dad, and last year, she asked me several times if I would be her daddy too. Ex and I fought about it every time. I asked her to put a stop to it. She told me I would just have to face the reality of rejecting a child because she wasn't going to do crap. My son asked me at one point if I was going to be his sister's dad too, since she didn't have one. I took him to a therapist who helped me to explain to him that I was not, and in the long term, it was better that way, without going into inappropriate explanations, and so I had backup in explaining this. My son got it. He said it made sense to him. Ex has been so much worse lately. She's fallen out with her closest friends, and now she's on her own. Her family was never a big part of her life. She comes from dysfunction, and so her daughter has nobody else except her and my son. Her daughter has become more and more upset when she sees me, and my son has said she asks to come with him when he comes home to me. His mom and I share custody. Ex has stated getting really angry over text and DM, saying I am a crappy person and a crappy dad if I can't love my kid's flesh and blood sibling enough to be there for her. She has also accused me of weaponizing our son because he has been telling her it's not my job to be his sister's dad. I don't really trust what she says, ever, but I guess I do feel some guilt for not being any part of the kid's life. Even though I know I would never be able to love her and have never actually wanted to be in her life. I am kind when I am around her, but she reminds me every day of what my ex did and how much I hate my ex for how she treated me and destroyed everything. I am aware of her innocence, the child, but it doesn't take away how I feel. And I know she would never feel loved by me either. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You should get full custody of your son, especially if she's not doing so good. She is weaponizing her daughter against you in order to make you feel guilty. She sounds toxic and needs to be cut off. Not the a-hole. Your ex is not entitled to choose any father she'd like for her child. Her daughter has a father, and that is not you. She needs to face the consequences of her actions. Get your lawyer involved and put an end to this. Not the a-hole. If you raised the child of another man's mistake, then without a doubt, you would be the sucker that your girlfriend thought that you were when she cheated on you. Your girlfriend's daughter with another man was her choice, and it is now her problem. I, 27 female, and my husband, 28 male, are expecting our first child, a baby girl, in January. We already have her name picked out, a name we both adore, the same middle name as my sister and my last name. Some backstory. Me and my sister are my father's only children. Unfortunately, he passed away when I was 13. Because of this, I have become extremely attached to my last name. I feel like it is my duty to carry on his legacy by keeping my last name and giving it to my children. Some backstory on my husband's side. My husband is the fourth born of 5 boys. Most of his brothers are married with at least one kid and their last name. At first, we planned to hyphenate our daughter's last name with my last name first. But my husband suggested that if it's so important for me that she have my last name, then let's just give her mine. He says that no matter what last name she has, she will always be his daughter, and he will love her no matter what. Now the issue is with my husband's aunt. She claims that if I'm trying so hard to persuade him into giving our child my last name, then it must not be his. The rest of my husband's family is 100% on board with this decision. I was obviously hurt by what she is saying. My husband has sat her down and talked with her about this, but she doesn't believe a word he says. She claims that I am lying and that the only reason I kept my last name when we got married was so the men I had been cheating with didn't know I was married. My husband told me to just ignore her and eventually she'll simmer down, but I think it's just made her double down. She now claims that since I am ignoring her, that she's right and that I'm afraid of her and what she'll do. Here's where I might have went too far. We were at my mother-in-law's house. She's an absolute saint, by the way. Just hanging out, when his aunt showed up to pick something up. We made eye contact but said nothing. She stayed for a while and talked about things unrelated to the baby. Well, the baby kicked my belly in the rib, and I winced and grabbed my stomach. That's when she mumbled something under her breath about my bastard of a child. I lost it. I went off about how her daughter cut her off because of how she treated her, and how her and her husband are on the brink of divorce because he was cheating on her. To be completely honest, I think that's why she was targeting me in the first place. She got upset and stormed out. I felt terrible afterwards. Both my husband and my mother-in-law said that they were surprised I hadn't done it sooner. But I can't help but feel that I stooped down to her level and gave her more to say about me. I honestly feel for her. Anyone in her situation would obviously not be in a very good mental place, and I can't help but feel I made it worse. Edit. I'm going to answer some of the most common questions I've seen in these replies. 1. Why didn't or doesn't my husband take my name? The only way I can explain this is choice. I chose to keep my name when we married, and he chose to keep his. We didn't see issues about it when we married, and we definitely didn't know it would have been an issue now. However, if my husband does choose to change his name to match me and our daughters, that's completely his decision, which I will support. 2. Why didn't my husband or mother-in-law do something first? I did say in the post that my husband talked to her before, like I also said in the post that she didn't listen to him. Now, from reading all of your advice, I will be going little to no contact and have requested an apology. As of now, I've not heard anything from her. I basically told her if she does not apologize, she will have nothing to do with our daughter. If that's a little harsh, please let me know. Not the a-hole at all. There are some folks who need to be told off, and she certainly sounds like one of them. People like this, you are damned if you do or damned if you don't, so to speak. Defend yourself or not, they won't believe you. Frankly, I would keep your child away from her, since she has made it clear she can't mind her own business, refuses to listen to anyone, and is extremely rude about it. All the adults involved can and apparently do recognize it, but children don't understand. Good for you. Not the a-hole. Good on you. Some people need to be treated the way they've treated others. Now she knows what that's like. She didn't like it. Maybe she'll keep her stupid mouth shut in the future. 100% projecting here. She just assumes that all men are cheaters, just because her husband was a dog. She's taking out her anger on you because she's jealous. Not the a-hole. Ever wonder if maybe the aunt has a guilty conscience, which could be why her daughter isn't speaking to her? And why she's trying to project this onto you? I think you're well within your rights to say to your husband and mother-in-law that you won't be in the same room as this woman until you get a heartfelt, genuine apology. And if she won't give that, then go no contact with her. Some people are just not worth the headache, and if she can't treat you with respect, you don't need her in your life. My ex-wife and I got married really young because she got pregnant with our daughter at that time. I don't want to give many details, but she ended up cheating on me with a colleague and we got divorced. She decided to give up custody rights, and she never met our daughter even once. I've done everything to raise my daughter, and I struggled really hard with depression after my wife cheated on me. But I'm doing really well now. I own a successful business with a friend, beat depression, and moved on with my life. A couple of months ago, my ex made an appearance and asked if she could attend our daughter's birthday. I was kind of happy because my daughter always asked questions about her mother and wanted to meet her. But after their reunion, my ex-wife proposed that we should share custody now. She tells me that she regrets her every decision and would love to spend time with our kid. Even my daughter was keen on moving in with her mother. But I don't think she deserves a place in our lives after everything she did to us. Visiting once in a while is fine, but I don't want to give her any custody or rights. She herself decided that she didn't want to parent our daughter and ghosted us the entire time. Would I be the a-hole here? Not the a-hole. This has all kinds of warning lights flashing on it. Stand your ground. Also, keep track of your own mental health during this. Might be wise to have some friends check in on you from time to time. Perhaps let your daughter drive how often she wants to see and hang out with mom, but don't give up any of your legal custody. Not the a-hole. Your ex is essentially a stranger to both you and your daughter at this point. You have absolutely no reason to trust her alone with your daughter. Occasional supervised visits with a goal of maybe working out an unsupervised visitation schedule in the future, years, not months from now, would be a good idea. You have full custody. If your ex disagrees with your decision, she can hire a lawyer. Start saving money for lawyers' bills now, in case it comes to that. Explain to your daughter that you want her to have a good relationship with her mother, but people change a lot in 11 years, and her mother is a stranger at this point. Explain to your daughter that her safety and well-being are your priority, and you're not going to start sending her to spend unsupervised time with her biological mother any more than you would send her off with a random stranger. While you're hopeful that your daughter and her mother can build a relationship, that takes time, and you support her taking the time to learn whether her mother is truly a person she wants to spend more time with. Your daughter is old enough to understand these concepts. Not the a-hole, yet. Get yourself a custody lawyer stat, though. Basically, no one would recommend gone for decade, now it's 50-50, as a good idea. Tell her you're willing to discuss limited visitation first, if you think it would be good for your daughter. Supervised visitation can turn into unsupervised visitation, and then maybe in a year or so, shared custody might be something that's good for your daughter and you. But I'm willing to bet she ghosts again before that, and the worst thing for your daughter would definitely be being abandoned all over again.